E-bikes have been revolutionising the way that people enjoy bicycles, from off-road fun at the weekends to commuting bliss to load lugging ease. I myself am lucky enough to have an e-mountain bike that I love riding around in the woods at the weekend, but also I've got an urban e-bike that I use for school runs, shopping and for commuting. The sheer usefulness of that bike got me thinking, is there an e-bike that I can use to replace a family car, but crucially one that I can take off-road at the weekends for some proper mountain bike riding? Forget the internal combustion engine, is there an SUV, a sports utility vehicle of the two-wheeled world? Well, I think there might be, and this might just be it. An e-mountain bike hardtail. Now in the mountain bike world, a hardtail could be seen as a bit of a poor man's version of a high-tech full suspension bike, a bit low end, or maybe a bit of a sort of speciality nostalgic bike. But actually, I don't think that's true. I think there's many ways which a hardtail can actually be better than a full suspension bike. Don't ignore the fact they're probably cheaper, they're more simple, easier to look after, more robust, but also crucially, they're easier to fit a rear pannier, but also a child seat, which could make this bike really useful in everyday life of maybe a family guy like myself. So I'm going to leave the car at home for a few days, try and live with this bike and see if it's useful enough to get rid of the car. So this is the bike that inspired me. It's the ugliest bike I've ever owned, but it's possibly one of the ones I've loved the most. It's just so useful, practical, and to a degree fun for family rides, but that's what got me thinking and got me inspired for an e-mountain bike hardtail. Could that be the best of both worlds? So I want to kit this bike out with everything I need from a vehicle in the week that can be easily dumped at the weekend for a mountain bike ride. So what do I need? To be able to carry loads for commuting and shopping, and to carry kids. So I'm using a bit of a combination of bike packing bags, got a flask mount up there for a hot drink, and a bit more old school, as you probably recognise, pannier bags. So I reckon I've got quite a lot of luggage holding capabilities. Obviously you can use pretty much any type of pannier bags. The great thing about these ones, these are made by our partners, Topeak actually, is these will actually fit full suspension bikes if you wanted to, and they'll come off super easily. The reason I wouldn't want to use my full suspension e-bike around town is basically I wouldn't want to leave it outside shops. I wouldn't feel safe. And there's extra wear and tear, and you get it bashed up a little bit, leaning it onto bike racks, things like that. So that's why I think an e-mountain bike hardtail could just be the ticket. So, time to go shopping, see what I can fit in these bags. Well, it's not my weekly shop, but I can't believe how much stuff you can actually get in just these two bags. So, you get quite a long way with this. There's loads of people that probably don't need an e-bike, to be fair, for getting around town, but when it comes to lugging loads, somewhere like this, I live in Bath, it's super hilly. I once did take my son up to nursery on a normal bike, It almost killed me. So an e-bike really pays dividends on the hills. So what about the cost compared to a car? Well, this is a Canyon Grand Canyon AL 9.0, which comes in at £3,149. So yes, you could buy a second-hand car for that kind of money, but you could end up with hefty repair bills as well. Running costs for a car, of course, you've got tax, fuel, insurance. Yes, you've got some running costs with the bike as well. Things like consumables, tyres, definitely not as much as car. You've got to charge it, it's an e-bike, and there are some bills that come with it. And yes, I have added some extras as well, but it's definitely going to be much cheaper running a bike than a car. Sure, you could get an urban e-bike or even a cargo bike if you were into carrying some serious equipment, but I actually think a mountain bike is probably a sensible choice for most people. They're just way more versatile than an urban e-bike. Just the tyres alone will make it more capable for even going onto a bit of a grassy or gravel path. It will make a big difference. And they're, you know, pretty much bomb-proof a mountain bike compared to a road bike or a cargo bike even. They're just a stronger, more robust vehicle. Any other considerations before you dump the car? Well, safety and luxuries. And this depends on your viewpoint on these things, I think. There's many parents that buy 2.5 ton 4x4s because they feel safer dropping their kiddie off to nursery and school. But there are things you can do to a bike to make it safer. Of course, you should definitely wear a helmet, it should be seen. Getting lights, you can get some high-tech gadgets as well. Garmin actually do that Varia rear light with a radar on there that will give you a notification on your computer when cars are coming near. And it does depend on your local authority. What does your town think about bicycles? Do they give you the facilities to ride them around town safely? So you're gonna have to answer that question. Luxuries, well, you can have a sat nav on the computer. I could have a warm flask of coffee in there. I could wear my waterproofs and ride this all year round, but some people don't want to do that. I do like commuting all year round, to be honest. Even in the wet conditions, I chuck my waterproofs on and I get to work and I feel like I've had a bit of fun, I've had a bit of a workout, and generally in a better mood than if I've had to drive my car there. It only takes a minute to dump the pannier, dump the bags, turn it back into a mountain bike, ready for some off-road action. But what about the environment? Yes, I can hear people shouting at me already that you still need electricity from somewhere to charge these things. Of course you do, but we all know that green energy is on the up, so hopefully those fossil fuel burning power stations will be a thing of the past in a decade or so. So we can potentially charge these up from clean energy anyway. There is a concern about recycling batteries that, you know, I don't have the answer to that, of course, but we'll see in the future. But these things are much more small scale and take a much smaller carbon footprint in the first place to build than something like a big Tesla or 4x4. So, but if we can replace every single one of those 4x4s doing the school run with one of these, then at least urban places, city centres are going to be much cleaner places to be. So the question I asked at the start, could an e-bike replace my car? The conclusion, well, most of the time, yes, but actually probably not all the time. The range, yeah, it wouldn't get me the 125 miles back to my parents up in the Midlands. Plus there isn't an e-bike that'll take 2 adults and 2 kids. But we're a 2-car family. I feel like we could get rid of one and just use this one around town. It's surprising how much stuff I can get on this bike, kids and kit. Maybe not do a weekly shop, but you know, I could do most of it with this bike. So potentially we could get rid of one car. I would just have to probably convince the wife, who's less keen on riding bikes than I am, but she does like it. So there's definitely a good argument for getting rid of a car and using one of these things. They're so capable.